I'd like to thank Susan Danson for doing this presentation, town manager for Maple Shade, um, an area I'm very familiar with. We're talking about that a little before, but very challenging there, but it's a lot of fun. Leave your fear at the door. I'm really looking forward to this one, leading during adversity. Another one right spot on with what we need to know. So let's get started. You're up.
Thank you, Jerry, so much. And thank you for the opportunity to speak to all of you this afternoon. I'm sure none of us can think of a better way to spend an 80-degree day in September other than sitting in front of our computer screen attending a webinar as we continue to try to dig ourselves out of this pandemic. It sounds delightful, doesn't it? I'm going to make this as painless as possible for you all, but I really truthfully hope that in the end, if even just a few things I have to say stick with you, that you're going to consider this worthwhile. I gotta try and see when there we go. For some reason, I can't get my slides to work. So I apologize, we're having a little technical difficulty here.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I can't get my slides to advance.
Let's see.
Let's see what we got. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's try it again. So I wanted to ask, have you ever been so afraid of failing at something that you decided not to try it at all? Or how about being so fearful of having to approach someone that instead of tackling the issue, you subconsciously undermined your own efforts to avoid the possibility of a larger failure or confrontation? Or how about this? Have you ever thought about things that you know you deserve, that you want out of life? Things you want to enjoy and experience, yet you found yourself quickly dismissing the thought? Many of us have probably experienced this at one time or another. Fear of failing can be immobilizing. The fear of failing others can be debilitating. And the fear of not achieving the things we want can bring our world to a complete stop. The sad thing is that when we allow fear to stop our forward progress in life, in work, in anything, we are very likely to miss out on some really great opportunities along the way. So we're going to do a little drill. I would like you all to close your eyes. Now, please don't fall asleep on me. I know it's right after lunch, but close your eyes. And I want you to say the following to yourself. Whatever I am seeking, it is seeking me. I can have it and I can achieve it. Again, whatever I am seeking, it is seeking me. I can have it and I can achieve it. So go ahead and open your eyes. The reason I bring this up is that some time ago, I was sitting in my office in a town I used to work for, speaking with an employee. He was not only one of my key employees, but he had become a very good friend. He was the type of employee that we all hope that we have, always went above and beyond in his job, was always trying to make things work better, easier, more efficiently. And he was definitely a critical piece of the puzzle that fit in our team. However, I knew that he wasn't happy, wasn't completely happy. He wasn't miserable, yet he didn't appear to have any joy in the job for him. There was nothing there that was just really sparking him. So I asked him, I said, if you're not enjoying this, why are you doing it? Why not do something that enjoys you and makes you happy? His immediate response to me was, Sue, I would, but, and you know what normally follows those answers, I would, but the money and the time, and it's just not. So it got me thinking. I started to look at my own happiness and asking others why they weren't doing what they loved. And they would say, I don't know, come on, Sue, or, it's just not the right time. I'd follow it up with asking if they were doing what was their passion. And then their normal response to that was no. But again, I would ask, what is your real passion then? Some could tell me and some couldn't. I'd dig a little bit deeper, as my husband said, and I would ask, why aren't you doing what you really want to do? And there it was. The response that we don't even realize we give was just a little bit of attitude. Oh, I can do it and I can follow my passion, but the word but, that simple 3-letter word that keeps getting in the way. It brings along some friends with them too, like I would, I could, I should. And they also tend to hang around with the one day, the one day I'm going to go to the mountains. I'm going to build a house in the mountains. I'm going to hike the Appalachian Trail. Those, the one day I'm going to people. I'm sure some of us know plenty of people that are the one dayers. Some of us may be them as well. But really, how many times do we knock ourselves down using phrases like, I could, but, or I should, I would, but, almost likely we are simply just surviving through life in a daze where we are constantly finding ways to cut our dreams short. Let me tell you something. The word but is a dream killer. And even worse, we are fearful of what will happen when we stop saying but. Heck, if we didn't use it, it might actually mean that we're going to have to do what we want or go where we would like to go or experience things that we would like to experience. Yet we continually stop at the word but. And sure enough, with that one little word, we have built a case of allowing fear to determine our happiness. So I looked up the definition of the word but, and the Oxford Dictionary describes it as an argument against something or an objection. So the word but is an argument. And when we argue against our reasons for not doing something that makes us happy, those reasons stay with us. See, but allows us to procrastinate. It causes us to hide behind fear. It causes us to come up with every excuse that there is to find validation in your inaction and not acting upon your dream and the things that you want. You know, in a world right now that seems, I guess, a bit doomsday-like, more than ever, people need to look for ways to live their dream. As leaders, it is our responsibility. So we need to make sure we are taking care of ourselves so we can help others grow. Let's face it, we all know that there is no such thing as true job security or a tragic-proof life. And failure, well, failure is guaranteed for all of us at some point. Now, we all have different definitions of failure, simply because we all have different benchmarks, values, and belief systems. Failure to me may be a great learning experience for one of you. Most of us are afraid of failing, but fear of failing and not being good enough, which is actually called a tickyphobia, say that 6 times fast, is when we allow that fear to stop us doing the very things that can move us forward and achieve our goals. Now, the wonderful thing about failure is that it is entirely up to us to decide how we look at it. We can choose to see failure as the end of the world, the oh my gosh, the sky is falling, or as proof of just how inadequate we are. But we can also look at it as the incredible learning experience that it often is. Every time we fail at something, we can choose to look for the lesson we are meant to learn. These lessons are how we grow, how we keep from making the same mistake again and again, and some of us again and again and again. Failures stop us only if we let them. Now, there are plenty of successful people who have experienced failure. Take Michael Jordan, for instance. You know, that guy who's like only one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Did you know that he was cut from his high school basketball team because his coach thought he didn't have enough skill? Seriously? Or Richard Branson. He's the owner of the massive Virgin Empire. And yeah, he's a high school dropout. So most of us will stumble and fall in life. Doors get slammed in our face. We make some bad decisions, some really bad decisions. But imagine if Michael Jordan had given up on his dream to play basketball, or if Richard Branson had listened to the people who told him he'd never do anything worthwhile without a high school diploma. Just think of all the opportunities you'll miss if you allow failure and fear to stop you. Again, failure can definitely teach us things about ourselves that we would never have learned otherwise. It can help us to discover just how strong of a person we really are. It can help us discover our truest of friends, or it can help us find the motivation that we need to succeed. Many of us have our own personal failure story. Many of us probably have multiple failure stories. I want to share with you one of mine, and not for any sympathy, simply to share a firsthand lesson of failure and what can come of it. So I was born in Camden at Cooper Hospital and raised in Marlton, New Jersey. Back then, when I grew up, it was Marlton. I know now it is Evesham, but sorry if anybody is here from Evesham, it will always be Marlton to me. My mother was, and it still is, a perfectionist, and my father, God rest his soul, was a Marine and then made his career as a police officer with the Evesham PD. Excellence was served in our family on a daily basis, whether it was in the classroom, on the athletic field, in our community, or in our household doing chores. Being the best was not an option in my family. It was an expectation from my parents. My older brother and I grew up constantly achieving. Awards were earned in everything we did. Now, I will tell you that I earned more than he did, and since he's not here, it's totally believable, and it's the truth. Our lives were mapped out for us. We were to graduate high school, graduate college, get a good job with benefits, get married, buy a house, have kids, succeed, and then retire. It's what every parent dreams for their children. But my story goes like this. So I graduated from high school with honors, and I went to college for a year. I didn't finish right away. I got a job with benefits. I gave up my job with benefits. I bought a house. I got married. I had kids. And then I got divorced and lost my marriage. I lost my house. I lost everything I owned. I lost friends. I lost my family. I lost myself. I literally had nothing. Living on assistance from others and from the state, I had disappointed my parents, my grandparents, my friends. I had failed at everything that I had tried from my graduation from high school. But most of all, I disappointed myself because I allowed the failure to define me over and over again during that time. Until one day, I got so tired of running on empty and being fearful of what the next day would bring that I decided I would no longer live in fear or in the shadows of my failures. They weren't me. They weren't who I was put on this earth to be, and that isn't where I was being challenged. And that is where my days changed. I went back and I finished college. I found a new job, actually had to get two. I was able to buy a new house, a new husband, and I kept pushing fear aside, tackling and conquering everything that was thrown at me. There were other failures, but I refused to let anyone see it and let anyone define me by it. I had learned from everything in my past. So my story isn't anything special, anything spectacular. Some of you may have lived similar stories or know someone that has or currently is. The difference is that I made the decision to stop living in fear and being a victim to it and decided that I would begin to live the life that I was meant to live. If you can see yourself here now, then it's the time to begin to look at ways that you can become the fearless force in your life. Find a way to design a life of substance and truly live out your dreams. And the best part is, it doesn't matter where you are in life either. Whether you are at the end of your career, the middle of your career, the beginning of your career, or simply just floundering around wondering where the heck you are. Now is as good of time as any to believe that whatever you are seeking, it is seeking you. You can have it and you can achieve it. Now, I'm sure that some of you are sitting there saying, yeah, Sue, just tell me something I don't know already. But I'm going to ask you, if you know it already, are you doing it? Are you living it? So I've also learned that there are no problem-free moments in life. How's that saying go? It's if it's not one thing, it's another. Heck, in some cases, sometimes if it's not one thing, it's a million other things. But if you find yourself saying this often, it is just something else that builds a case on as to why we are allowing fear to keep us from doing what we want to. Many times we find something that blocks our way. It keeps us standing just where we are, sedentary, not able to move. If some fear is causing us to stop before opening the door to opportunity, how many times do you say that I should do it, but? Accepting everything that the word but brings means you have allowed your fear to determine why things aren't better. I'm sure many of you see this in the workplace too. Now, it's easy to accept the but excuse from someone instead of challenging them. Think about it. Perhaps it's an employee who you know that has the skill set to be a leader or a key employee in your organization, yet you see them not applying themselves. Do you go up to them and ask that employee what's going on? Dig a little deeper, find out? Perhaps you would. Some of you might think it's not your place. Or better yet, do you ask that same employee why they don't go after their dreams, why they don't go after that certification or the license that they want? Many times I'm sure that their response is, yeah, I would, but you know what's scarier though? Many of us accept that answer from them. So I once had a young man working for me in my public works department. Awesome worker, always on time. He did his job above and beyond. I never had to question him. He was just everything that a manager would want in their employee. He was an all-around great guy, even a greater employee. He was just about 25 years old with 3 kids and a wife. He never finished high school. So I asked him one day when I had found out why not, and he gave me every excuse in the book. I'm sure each of you could tell me what those excuses are because you've probably heard them before. He told me how he could have, but he decided he didn't want to and things were rough growing up. He would have, but then he got married and he had kids and he knows that he should have, but he has his kids now and he just doesn't have the time. So I asked him, I said, if you were given the opportunity to go back, if I were to give you that opportunity today, would you go? He came back with an immediate answer and said, yeah, I would, but come on, Sue, right now is not good. My kids are playing sports and I'm their coach and I could go, but my wife's home and she needs me to come home after work. And I know I should because my kids are seeing, that I don't have it, but I just can't do it right now. This went on for about a year. Finally, I asked him what he was afraid of. I said, why are you allowing your fear to keep you from getting what you want? He didn't have an answer. I kept at him, not so much every day, but for the next several months. I figured eventually he has to turn around. And finally, one day he knocked on my office door. And not only did he say that he was ready to take the step and jump in, he went and he got his GED. He finished it in no time at all. And he came back right after and went and got his water and sewer licenses. And after that, he came back and said, now I want to learn more, and went and got his public works manager's license. You see, this employee went through life telling himself that he couldn't and he should but, or he would but. So but became easier for him to go through life playing the but game. Many of us go through life like that, pretending we are satisfied, pretending everything is okay, pretending we don't have goals or desire when deep down inside we do and we want so much more. As leaders in our organization, we have an obligation to those that we lead. We are supposed to show no fear. We are supposed to show strength. The idea of a leader being weak is just not fathomable. But if we look at our behavior and if we judge based on what we do, that gives us the real story. Remember, you judge a tree by the fruit it bears, not by the fruit it says it grows on its tag. I used to tell myself I wanted to start going to the gym, get in shape, and in fact, even run a marathon. I would tell lots of people that I wanted to do it too, thinking the accountability would make me do it. But I realized a few years ago that I was simply pretending. And you know how I knew? Because I never did it. I didn't buy the gym membership. I didn't buy the running shoes. I didn't change my exercise habits. My actions, or really my inactions, were the proof. This is true of how we lead in our organizations as well. If you want to do something, if you have thought about something that you want to do, then approach it head on. Leave the fear behind. Make the decision to start, do the research, start tackling it, and start becoming whatever it is you want. It will lead to so many new possibilities. But you need to choose, and you really need to decide that whatever is holding you back from doing what it is you love, or what your passion is, or what you want out of life, that you're going to face it. Whatever shortcoming you have, doesn't matter. Whatever training that is required, go get it. Whatever is needed to implement your plan, you will find a way to find it. I want you to think about what your passion is. Take a minute and think about what your passion is in life. What is something that you truly enjoy? And go after it as if your life depends on it. Why? Because honestly, it does. People that have found their passion, people that have found the things that they love, people that have found the things that they can pour their lives into, those people live longer. Don't say that there's always a tomorrow. There are no guarantees, you know that. There are no guarantees that you are going to show up tomorrow. There are many people who were here yesterday that aren't here today. And there are so many opportunities that were afforded to us yesterday that are not the same today. So decide to do what you love now. Decide whatever you want to do that you are now going to become actively involved. Right now, exploring the possibilities for yourself, that you are going to look at it and do even just a little bit of it right now if you can. Trust me, you'll thank me for it later. When I decided I wanted a career in government, I made the decision that I wanted to be the one who implemented change and inspired others to do so as well. I believed it, and I still believe that I can make a difference. And my employees know that that is how I feel. When I started out, I jumped head first and decided I wanted to do the one thing. I wanted to be the one who would facilitate change, whether it be in my organization, whether it be in the community, it would be in the county, and I wanted to lead. People thought I was crazy. I am, but they really thought I was crazy, and different employees have battled me every step of the way. But that doesn't stop me. I have not, and I will not allow fear of failure or the fear of not making enough change stop me. There is plenty of room in life for each of you to make a difference, to come out of your shell and to live your dream. Don't allow fear to keep you in a corner or up in the bleachers simply being a spectator and not a participant. Each of you has something to give. Each of you has something to share with those around you, and no one can give what you have in the way that you can. That's reserved for only you. No one will cultivate and encourage your employees the way that you can. No one is going to write that story for you. So it's up to you to pursue your greatness and share it with those around you. Even in the midst of a pandemic, don't keep sitting on the sidelines. Do not deprive others and those that you lead of your greatness. If you are not cultivating your own passion and sharing it with anyone, you are going to take it to the grave with you. I once read that many people die at the age of 30, but don't get buried until they are 80. And I thought to myself, what the heck? That's morbid. But think about it.
All right, we need to jump in for a poll question, but I think some of those 30-year-olds work for me down in Cumberland County. They just, they've retired. They just don't know yet. I'll
Right.
stay with them dead. But anyway, there's the poll question. Make sure we're still paying attention. Everyone's still awake, still at their computers. And there's no right or wrong answer. We just want to know you're here. Let's just give it a second or two, give everyone a chance to get a response in. A little awkward silence. All right, let's get back to it.
Great, thanks.
All right.
So think about it. How many people do you know like that? They have all this energy and they're full of life. They're the life of the party. It's great. And then all of a sudden it's sucked out of them and they become the walking dead. Simply sustaining. You can immediately tell who those people are too. You look in their face and it's written all over. I used to coach high school field hockey, and I once had a mom who came up to me after a game and she said she needed to speak to me about her daughter. I immediately thought that this mom was going to rip into me for claiming her daughter didn't get enough playing time, or I was too tough on her daughter. But instead she told me that her daughter was not motivated. She had no drive, no ambition. Now this was surprising to me because that isn't what I saw in her daughter at all. So I was like, what's going on? But after speaking to her mother for 5 minutes, I didn't need to ask why she felt that way. It drained the life out of me. It was difficult. There was no energy. It was so mundane. Truth is that in everything you do, you've got to have energy. You need to be full of life. You need to be excited and engaged in what you are doing, even in government. That energy then becomes contagious, and people want to feel that excitement. Be that excitement. As the leader in your organization, your employees and co-workers want that excitement, and they need that excitement from you. They're just afraid to tell you. They want to be around you because whatever it is that you are doing, whatever you talk about, if you are excited and engaged, they will be too. For when you exude energy and positivity, you are sharing those same feelings with the people that you lead. If you are not positive, not upbeat and energetic, if you are not fired up about what it is that you want to accomplish, how can you expect anyone else to be fired up about it? Am I right? So I want you to repeat aloud, wherever you are. Don't be afraid. Don't worry. People are definitely going to think that you're crazy, but it's okay because we're going to do it together. I want you to say out loud, I am going to be fired up about my dream. I am going to be fired up about what I want. I am going to go at it with everything I've got. And then every night, before you go to bed, and again when you wake up, I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, I've got what it takes. I've got what it takes to do this and be the best. I heard a speaker once ask the question, why is it that people prefer known hells to unknown heavens? And I sat and I thought about it for a while, and I finally figured out the answer. It's comfort. Think about a recent time at work where a change was proposed, and it sounded great. In fact, you were even a bit excited about it. And then all of a sudden, you realized it meant you would have to change something you were doing. And suddenly the brakes were put on. Excuse me. Instead of leading the charge and diving in, you retreated and you stayed silent, hoping no one would come down and remember that you sat in that office at the end of the hall all by yourself. And why? Because the fear of having to make change is threatening, because the results are unknown. Let's face it, these last 6.5 months have been anything but desirable for all of us. We have all been faced with adapting to major changes. PPE, pandemic, bleach, disinfection, flatten the curve, the new normal, social distancing have all become familiar words in our vocabulary. Heck, from mid-March to May of this year, during the height of the virus, there were some days that I just wanted to flee instead of fight. There were times it was all just so overwhelming. Things were being asked of us as the leaders of our organizations that we just weren't used to. We were each carrying concern for our own families and friends. And then to add on top of it, we had to take care of staff. We had to find ways of meeting shortfalls, figuring out ways to keep everyone safe, allowing employees to work from home. That was a wonderful experience. And implementing proper procedures and protocols, finding the right online meeting platform so that your council meeting wouldn't be hacked. Daily updates of the doom and gloom that we were facing, number of deaths, confirmed cases that grew daily, and of course, guidance that seemed to be changing daily. As leaders, we were tasked with keeping things together when honestly, I'm sure many of us simply just were trying to keep ourselves together. But you know, that's the beauty of what we do and why we are leaders. Each of us has the skill set to dig deep, even in the face of absolute chaos. Even when the world seems to be falling apart around us, we use every ounce of our gifts and talents to lead and to cultivate and to nurture those who are along the ride with us. We find that place that is our dream, our spot, our niche, and we make sure the world knows it's ours. We stand tall and strong and don't let anything break us down. That is when we achieve our greatest successes and find our true happiness. Now, it's not to say that there aren't moments during times of adversity that you don't want to give up. There may be days when you want to give up more than others and not stay the course and fight, and there's going to be a lot of pain and disappointment, and you're even going to ask yourself if it is all worth it. In fact, it will be screaming in your face, and you will be staring at it, asking yourself if you should just forget it and listen to the buts, and the buts will have help from its family of the woulds and the coulds and the shoulds. And that is when you have to stop and you have to remind yourself that the fear needs to be left at the door, that you can achieve everything you are seeking in life. I once left a job where, now that I look back on it, had I just been able to keep my out-of-the-box ideas to myself, my vision and my passion quieted, I could have retired from this job at a decent age with a nice little retirement fund and benefits for my family for life, for me and my family. The problem was that by staying quiet, by keeping my suggestions and my ideas idle, I wasn't doing myself any good. And here's what I discovered, that when you are doing what you love and what you are meant to be doing, you're good at it. You're great at it. People will find you to be a threat because you're that good at it, but that's okay. And it's okay because that means you are using your talents and abilities for you. Think about it. So I want you to think about your talents. We all have them. It's those things that make us feel good and strong and positive when we are doing them. Are you using them in what you are doing now? Are you stepping out of your comfort zone and challenging yourself on a daily basis to use what is yours? When you set your sights on developing your gift, those gifts will continue to give back to you. I've had many different jobs in my life. I was a coach, a teacher. I worked in retail, in hospitality, corporate. I even owned my own business. I've seen a lot and done a lot. But when I finally decided to focus my energy and use the talents and abilities I have been given, I found an inner peace that is all my own, that I can nurture and grow every day with everything that I do. Now, it's a work in progress, but that is what makes it even better. When we are working on our dreams and developing what we love, we have a different kind of walk, a different kind of energy than those that are just surviving through life. For those that are just getting by, you can see it in their body language. They shuffle their feet, they walk with their head down. You can hear it in their voices. You don't want to be like that. You want to be actively creating life and making it exciting for you. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret too. Some of you may know this. If you sit and watch the news all day and read what's happening in the news, you're going to be scared. Actually, you should be terrified. And life is going to pass you by. You know I'm right. Instead, you've got to keep that little kid inside of you alive. Little kids don't watch the news. They watch those colorful animated shows that make them giggle and smile. And they may be onto something. Have you ever noticed most people don't walk around smiling? You probably haven't noticed that because most people walk around that way. However, you do notice the people that are always smiling. Of course, now under the masks, we have no clue if someone is smiling at us or sticking their tongue out at us. But the next time you are looking at someone, take note if they're smiling. This is probably what you'll see this time, but this is what we hope that we always see. As leaders, you can't allow difficult and challenging times to demoralize yourself. You have been given gifts to bring to this universe that was not here before you showed up. They have been given to you, and they have your name on it. Use them. Find your happiness. Find that peace of mind. You can't put a price tag on it when you're doing what you are supposed to be doing. So many will thank you for it. Folks, the universe is calling you. The voice of greatness is calling you. Don't be afraid to answer. Don't hide behind the buts or the coulds or the woulds or the shoulds. Don't allow people to tell you that you are not ready. We don't get out of life alive, you know that. You have to live your dream now. You need to kill the buts. You need to bury them. It has no place in your life. The dreams you have been killing, it has those buts. Stop allowing them to do it. If you don't let go of those buts, you are going to kill more dreams. You don't need buts. In closing, I want you to look at your life and decide that it is beautiful and that it is meaningful to you. Right now, you don't have to be exactly sure what it is that you want because there could be so many different things that you still want. Remember that there are no guarantees in life. You have to live as much as you can each day. Decide to do what you can where you are right now with the gifts that you have. If you choose to not act on your dream, if you don't make the decision to live the life that you want, if you don't decide to let your fear go, or if you decide to simply say no to what it is you want, don't expect it to work for you. Time is being whisked away from us, so the time is to act is now. Face yourself, talk to yourself in the mirror, look around you, be creative, be enthusiastic, see what need or service you can provide so that when you do, people are going to talk about all you exude and how awesome you are because of the passion and the confidence you have set for yourself. When you make you important, it no longer becomes a preference and it's no longer negotiable. It's a must. When you decide you are going to do it, regardless of the opposition, no matter what those difficulties are, it will happen and others will see it and feel it. You need to live your dream. You need to lead with passion. You need to leave your fear, and you need to seek whatever it is you are seeking because it is seeking you. Thank you.
Okay. So let's see if we do not have any questions. If anyone would like to ask some questions, we do have couple minutes, 5 or 10 minutes or so. Not much time. There we go. Question came up. Someone's just saying great. So and thank you for Susan. I sure thanks you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so having no question, I thank Susan for the presentation. Very timely, very good conversation. And I guess we'll call that the end of this session, and we'll come back in a couple minutes to hear about what is next. Another human resources update. So thank you, Susan. And
Yep.
thank you, everybody, for attending. Goodbye.